What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more ABBA. And as you can see from the title, this is a bit of a left turn, if you will. Once again, shout out to Delius, who actually sent me another non-album, I'm going to say composition, in the sense that he sent me, in the last 24 hours, a like 20-minute plus medley, which is apparently a number of things they worked on and then were sort of thrown together into a medley by one of the producers. I forget the name, but ultimately I didn't know when I got that email. I was like, wait, is this something I can react to? Because generally speaking, the more amount of time copyrighted material is in your video, the higher chance of it being blocked or partially blocked and so on. So my initial thought is like, ooh, we'll see if I can react to that. I do wonder if that is the intention or whether I should try to react to it in bits and pieces. Either way, we'll definitely go through that as well as all the other non-album tunes. But look at this. Once again, big shout out to Michaela, who sent me a number of things from different groups and artists recently, and one of the things she sent is the Live at Wembley CD, and this is actually a special, like, limited edition. It's 2 discs, and indeed, we're talking 23 tracks are on here overall, so one of them we have already reacted to, which is to say I'm Still Alive, but I was so happy to get this in actual physical form right after I had heard, got a little bit of taste of live ABBA from this performance in particular. And I do love having physical releases because, again, you get pictures, you get context, you get snapshots in time and legacy. So ultimately looking forward to going through it all. Once again, big shout out to Michaela. And we're going to listen to the opening 2 tracks because, as far as I can tell, the opening tune, which I think is in Swedish, and according to Google Translate, the first word is old and the second word looks like a name because it didn't change it at all. So I did notice on Discogs when I was putting this release in my collection, I try to update it when I get new materials these days, it's listed as being by traditional. So my understanding, therefore, is that this is based on a folk song and might perhaps be part of a walking out on stage sort of scene or atmosphere setting piece that kicks off the concert. But I do love the second tune a great deal, which is Voulez-Vous, so I'm looking forward to hearing a live version of that. So bottom line, we're going to listen to what looks like on the page, and as someone who thinks and speaks in English, it looks like Gammal, Fabodpsalm. Again, I'm probably saying that completely incorrectly, but yeah, ultimately it's that plus Voulez-Vous. I did want to address something else. This is ridiculous to even bring this up, but there's someone who's been commenting in ABBA reactions and has commented on a number that they think I'm pretending to drink tea, which is ridiculous. It's insane. And the first couple of times I saw it, I was like, I'm not even going to reply to that. But eventually it's been like a half dozen times. So just to confirm, like, we are like dealing with actual tea here. Like, I'll spill the tea to make a point. So again, I don't even know why that was a suggestion. Regardless, I am drinking tea, Earl Grey, if you want to know specifically. Regardless, let's get on to more important things. This is the opening of the ABBA concert live at Wembley, and this is a 2014 release, but the concert itself is from, is it 79? In the moment, yeah, it's 1979, and specifically it's November 10th. So once again, big shout out to Michaela for sending this over. Let's get to it. This is ABBA with an opening bit, which is apparently a traditional piece, probably re-rendered or given their own ABBA flavor, followed by one of my favorites, Voulez-Vous. So maybe like a folk song done in ABBA keyboard. Which means Benny is like working his magic, yes? It has a bit of like a Vangelis feel, fair to say. wasn't a like, we stop the intro, we start the song. It was mixed. Feels like it's, the tempo is a bit. Has like even more energy. Again, electric pad synths doing work under the main riff. I love her voice on that line in particular. The funkiness of the bass cannot be continued. Tired of that riff. It's got such an edge. It's audacious, man. So I wonder if that just rolls right into the next tune. But yeah, number one, it has become a favorite of mine. I really love that track. It's interesting because, when you think about the construction of a live concert and a track list and what's a tune that's really going to grab people right out of the gate, especially if it has a cool atmospheric intro that, proceeds into it. What's the kind of track that you finish the set with, or at least finish the regular part of the set? Then what tracks do you put if you do an encore? And, I think in general, the bigger tunes tend to come at those moments, right out of the gate and then later in the concert. Not to say that there couldn't be some favorites that are played smack dab right in the middle, but I am always thinking about both in terms of albums and live performances, the arrangement of a set list. So I think it's a nod in Voulez-Vou's favor, the song, that it's the first proper track of this concert. Perhaps, performed when they're, by many people's estimation at the peak of their powers and, perhaps about to enter an even more sort of critically acclaimed phase. Either way, I'm very keen to hear some of these live performances. Now, before I say any more, I do want to promise that I will keep going through the non-album tunes long before we go through everything here, and my plan is to probably start the Agneta and Frida solo journeys before we go through everything here. But I am going to start going through this as, you know, 1 out of every 3 or something ABBA reactions, because I do very much want to hear more live ABBA. Now, it's funny, fair to say, and you know, this is something that I always think about in relation to punk bands, because as you can see behind you, I've spent many, many years listening to punk groups, and some of the groups up here, not naming names, but you know, I enjoy their live performances, but I don't think they sound quite as dynamic and crisp as they do on the studio album. And fair to say, in full disclosure, I tend to be more of a studio album guy, because inevitably, whether it's because the recording doesn't have like perfect fidelity, or whether because, you know, they're playing it a bit outside of its normal bounds, so like, because I heard the album track first, the slightly, you know, different tempo version or so on might sound a little weird to my brain, at least on a first listen. Again, generally speaking, I do tend to prefer studio album recordings of tracks instead of live recordings, even though there are some bands I know where like they are very good live, not just, you know, sounding very close to the album track, but even, you know, flourishing above and beyond. But again, it was cool to hear, because they had the crispness, all the touches were there. Obviously, because it's like a live sound, it's not like that direct line, like right into your eardrum sort of feel, but it still sounded awesome. It still sounded like the track that I know. Again, though, perhaps with a little bit more energy, a little bit more pace to it. So, yeah, looking forward to hearing both discs on this album, and hearing a number of tunes I've come to know and love, and see, you know, what they sound like in a live performance. And indeed, people pointed out to me, like pretty early on in the ABBA journey, that at least when it comes to things that are available, and even just, you know, in their own history, they don't have nearly as much live material as many other groups that have, you know, a dedicated following and a large fan base and so on. So like, this is, you know, as far as I know, the only like official live release that's, you know, that was put out in this way. And once again, shout out to Michaela for sending this. So bottom line, excited to go through this, but I promise it won't delay too much either the non-album tracks that we're going through, or the initiation of the 2 ladies' solo music journey. So once again, shout out to all the people involved in this larger journey. Again, shout out to Adam for providing all the albums. Shout out to Delius, who's been helping recently. Shout out to others who have offered to, or even sent some of the tracks that, you know, I may have gotten from elsewhere, but people just making sure that we have everything we can go through. And again, shout out to Adam, who has already, you know, on his music server, mentioned that, you know, he can make available what I need, and I'm aware that he has Agneta and Frida stuff. So we'll go through everything eventually. Let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.